Hello and good morning, all you Toronto Blue Jays fans and wonderful friends of baseball, period. Because what a day it was to end game 162 around the major leagues. It was crazy, it was wild, it was everything I kind of hoped it would be. So let's just dive into it because let's just talk the postseason soon to be drama first. Because not only did the Toronto Blue Jays do their job, but everybody else that I was hoping and rooting for also did the same things. We have the Cincinnati Reds making the playoffs for the first time in a while, it seems like. We have the Guardians clinching the division and the Detroit Tigers losing, unfortunately, but they're going to be in the playoffs still, regardless. But this playoff picture changed a lot, it felt like, over the last week. Just crazy amounts of drama, wonderful pieces, everything like that. But let's just talk what's going on around the league first, too, because the Boston Red Sox and the Yankees won to end game 162. The Yankees being the one that the Blue Jays were most worried about in this whole equation because it was pending doom if the Blue Jays lost and the Yankees won. The Yankees would have won the division. It would have been clear and simple as that. But to that point, the Blue Jays did turn around and have a 4-game winning streak to end the season, counteracting the 8-game winning streak that the Yankees had went on, and the Blue Jays seal the division with the tiebreaker in hand, a 94-win season for the Toronto Blue Jays. But on the other pieces of that baseball part, like I mentioned, we are going to have all things wild card and talking about here. Before we dive into the game yesterday, the New York Yankees and the Red Sox will start 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. So the American League wild card will kick things off then. They will be playing against the Yankees and the Red Sox at New York to start this 3-game series out. The other American League will start at 1 o'clock. This will be the division rivalry of the Tigers versus the Guardians at 1 o'clock on Tuesday as well. And then over in the National League, we're just going to continue rolling with that same kind of time frame thing. We are going to have at 3 o'clock the wonderful matchup of the Padres versus the Cubs. And we're going to have in the evening the nightcap, because it's all West Coast to start with. The Reds will be playing the Dodgers. Now, the Reds end up sneaking into the playoffs after a terrific run at the end of the season and a complete, utter meltdown by the New York Mets, to the point that the New York Mets were fuming broadcasters-wise at the end of the game yesterday because the Marlins treated this like their own little personal World Series, which that's the only thing they've had to celebrate all year. Deal with it, Mets fans. I'm sorry, it sucks. I would have not been happy about it too, but they won. And that's how they want to celebrate the end of their season. Sure, you got to do you, kind of thing. Anyways, that's what happened around the league. Now let's talk about what happened with the Toronto Blue Jays, because Alejandro Kirk put the team right on his back and basically ran them to victory, because his offense was ungodly yesterday. 3 extra base hits, which included a grand slam and a 2-run home run. Kirky just on fire yesterday, and he's been heating up for a little while, and it's been fun to watch. 6 RBIs for him out of the 8 that were scored early in this game. Blue Jays capped this off eventually with a 13-4 victory, as the Blue Jays also poured on plenty of runs in the later innings. So let's talk about how we got there kind of part, because basically, outside of MVP Kirky, this team did really good yesterday, and it started to look like they were clicking on all cylinders. Things were a little interesting at the beginning of the game. After Gossman went through, it seemed like he battled. He's obviously, just like everybody else, dinged up at this end of the season. 3 2/3, 8 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts from Gossman as he battled through the first, few innings. Then the Blue Jays bullpen just came in and said, "Not today," and ran with it. First off, in the winner of the game, Mason Fluharty comes in with 1 1/3 of an inning. He was lights out. Wow, is it fun to watch him when he is amped up? It was incredible to watch. Fluharty might have just secured himself a place in this bullpen to run into the playoffs with, and rightfully so. Louis Varland came in and threw some gas even after allowing a couple of base runners, got out of the inning. 2 strikeouts in that inning. Brandon Little also picking up a inning of pitch too, struck out the side in his inning. Brandon Fisher being Brandon Fisher, 1 strikeout, and then Eric Lauer got the nice little tip of the cap to end the Blue Jays season and celebrate with the team out on the field. Nobody much more deserving than that of Eric Lauer. I'm getting like all choked up, I'm verklempt. So, anyways, let's talk the offense in this one. Is the fireworks started early, as I mentioned, with Alejandro Kirk, and then it continued later in the game with Barger and Springer going. But once again, to begin this game, the Blue Jays actually started out behind. Jonathan Aranda for the Tampa Bay Rays being the main center of that push, because the kid's incredible. He finds a way to make good contact with the ball, and drove in the first run with Richie Palacios scoring on the single. Bottom of the first, Vlad Jr. comes up, hits a single, drives in George Springer, who was on base. The Blue Jays got plenty of people on base to begin this game, and then marched right back into it with Alejandro Kirk being the monster hit that he had here. Grand salami, scoring Vladdy, Dalton Varsho, and Davis Schneider. Rays didn't want to go quietly, though, especially Jonathan Aranda, who picks up another couple of RBIs on a single in the 3rd inning, putting things close. Blue Jays now, within a run after another hit by Jake Magnum. So the Blue Jays were, at this point, only winning by 1 run heading into the bottom of the 4th inning. And this is where the Blue Jays, it seemed like they took it up a gear. It started out with an Andres Jimenez sac fly, scored Ernie Clement, who had just doubled. Ernie's been on fire. And then bottom of the 5th, Kirky, boom, scores his 2nd home run. Anthony Santander comes in on the 2-run blast. And then it just continued to be fireworks at that point. Addison Barger picks up his 21st home run, a 2-run blast that he just mashed into the right field stands. Barger picks up his 21st home run of the season and puts the Blue Jays up at the time 10-4. Just kept pouring it on after that. A triple layer that inning also scored Ernie Clement, who had been a single again. Miles Straw hits this ball into the gap and just off to the races. Speaking of unsung heroes for this team, George Springer would tack on a home run at the end of that inning, as well as the Blue Jays just run away with it in the 7th inning, scoring 5 earned runs for the Tampa Bay Rays. 13-4 final score, and that is where the celebration would finally begin. The Toronto Blue Jays is running it and going crazy, fans involved. Vladdy's literally hosing down fans. There's pictures and some videos of Davis Schneider sharing the champagne bottle, walking around the fence with the fans. Obviously, wonderful things. Great speech by Schneider before John Schneider, that is, not Davis Schneider. Right before all the champagne corks were popped, it was even the speeches after this game were in the next man up variety. It was slightly crazy, slightly wild, and it was controlled chaos. All the tips of the hat to Hazel May, you're a true warrior, walking around that locker room with all the champagne bottles and everything going off. So looked great, loving all of it. And, beautiful post-game speeches and interviews and everything that Hazel and everybody did. Awesome time. Great for seeing the fans to see that. I had not seen that big of the celebration being broadcast, especially on the MLB TV feed that I get to usually watch it on. So it was very fun to see. So that's it, Blue Jays fans. We got the win. We got the division. Now we got to wait and play who will win next. So after the wild card series, the Blue Jays will face either the New York Yankees or the Boston Red Sox. And the Blue Jays do have home field advantage clinched all the way up to the World Series, and that will depend on record for the next part for the World Series. So make sure you keep those things tuned in. The American League American League Division Series is in sight. The Blue Jays get a nice little break here until Saturday, I believe, next week. Or this week, I mean. But it hopefully means we're going to get all things well. Bo Bichette, Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios, everybody hopefully will be healthy and ready to go. Ty France even in that included, because he came up with some clutch hits since being joined with the Blue Jays. I can't say enough. It's just great stuff. So Blue Jays fans, thank you for listening. I greatly appreciate you. We got plenty to talk about over the next coming days with the wild card series and everything, and how that will eventually set up for the Toronto Blue Jays. So make sure you stay tuned, stay fun, and as always, let's go Blue Jays.